Delicious.
James, Bo Nix's performance on Monday, I find it fascinating, the transformation, the dialogue that now surrounds Bo, to the point where you actually had people criticizing a guy's performance on Monday as being almost too reckless, too much of a gunslinger, needed to be a little bit more conservative. Considering the talk surrounding this guy coming out of college around the draft, do you find that as amazing as I do?
Yeah, I do a little bit, but I do think it was the nature of this game. And I think, honestly, Jameis rubs off a little bit on all of us. And even that is the case sometimes if you're the opposing quarterback going against him. I look at this game as a positive, in all honesty. When I was there and I'm working the Broncos locker room and the Browns locker room post-game, the one thing that kind of started going through my head, guys, is like the Broncos, if you want to be a playoff team, have to find ways to win games in a variety of ways. And they hadn't won a game like this, where like sometimes – guess what? You got a top 10 defense. It's just not their day. And you go against a guy that takes a lot of chances, throws balls that most defenses are going, well, he's not going to throw that. Well, Jameis will. And sometimes that can beat you at times, and you saw the yards that they put up. But you had to find a way to win a shootout. And the chance to do that came upon him, and they did it. And Bo did it. And I think he knew in this setting, I don't want to speak for him, but it almost seemed like he knew he had to be playing a little bit that way, a little bit on edge, because of the way the game was going. And to me, the outcome shows me a little bit more about Denver, that if you can win in multiple ways, like you can win in a shootout, which they haven't done this year, makes you a more of a playoff team in most people's eyes.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I mean, it's not going to always be perfect, but in the end, they did have, 2 pick sixes? I mean, that's pretty good. And another interception along the way. I mean, so they did end up making some plays. It wasn't perfect. Jerry Jeudy, I mean, I think we all hated to see 9 catches for 235 yards and a touchdown. What'd you make of his performance?
I don't think anybody's ever doubted the route running. I don't think anybody's ever doubted the ability to create separation. I think just talking to a number of people in Denver over the course of his career here, it just didn't line up. There was a lot that went into it. The quarterback play obviously was part of that. The situation where he was mentally, all of these different things kind of have changed for him a little bit in Cleveland. And also, it was funny talking to Surtain in the locker room. Pat told me, he's like, man, I tried to line up on him as much as I could, but they just kept moving him around. And that's smart. I mean, Kevin Stefanski's no joke in terms of designing an offense, neither is Ken Dorsey. And they moved him around, put him in different spots, found really good makeup and really good matchups for him. And I think this game showed you that, like, when you're dealing with the dead money that Denver's dealing with, what is the one thing that usually does? It hurts your depth. And without Riley Moss, it hurt a secondary that really depends on all of those guys being healthy. And, when he was against Pat, different receiver. When he was against Levi Wallace, that on my show with Steve Smith, Steve said he didn't have just a trailer attached to him. He was wearing snow boots and had an entire trailer attached to him while he was trying to run around out there. That was an issue. But Jerry, we all know that he can run routes. We all know that he can create separation. There's just been some other intangible parts that always has not really had it come together. And for one Monday night so far, it did.
Yeah, Jay, any update there on Riley Moss? Have you heard anything about his injury? Because we realize the value of Riley Moss more so now than ever.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the move or lack thereof that the Broncos didn't make, I think is kind of telling. Obviously, it's still, to my understanding, pretty early. You still have the rest of this bye week, and then you have the next week in terms of getting ready for your next game. But he wasn't put on IR. And that shows you that they do believe there's a chance he comes back sooner than 4 games. So I really would be monitoring the way Wednesday and Thursday go of next week for our better guess about where he stands physically when you get a chance and possibly a chance to get on the practice field and see how he feels.
Let's go back to Bo, and we're visiting with James Palmer because it's been funny to watch the national reaction to the point where I saw the New York Giants blogger come out and say, wow, all of those people who are ripping the idea of the Giants taking Bo Nix in the first or second round, how are you feeling now? I wonder, in the people you talk to around the NFL, is there a sense that there's a lot of remorse out there among teams that passed on Bo or took a quarterback instead of Bo?
Well, I don't think it's there yet, Mike, in all honesty, because I do think that the sentiment around the league, and when I talk to people, is this. Like, Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams' ceilings are still far exceeding what most people around the league believe Bo's ceiling is. I think that's still clearly there. I don't think people questioned really whether Bo can operate within the NFL, specifically with his college experience and his accuracy. The fit was going to be extremely important with Bo, and we know how big that is and how much that kind of puts him in a positive spot. I don't know if anybody's like regretting anything because the jury's still out on Penix and J.J. McCarthy, right? So those teams aren't regretting anything as of right now with their picks. We might see Penix, by the way, sooner than we expected in Atlanta because he had an outstanding training camp, and they're absolutely in love with their 8th overall pick. And Drake May has shown some signs. So anybody who is looking at quarterbacks, I know the Giants, you mentioned that, you can go receiver. But I think the idea still is this. Sean Payton has a big part in this. It's a great fit between quarterback and coach. It's the best case scenario that Bo Nix could have fallen into. I do think Sean deserves to strut around a little bit because a lot of people didn't have Bo Nix where the Broncos picked him, and this has been very successful. But there are still some people around the league, to be completely honest, like they're curious if this is a Mac Jones situation. Mac Jones took the Patriots to the playoffs in his rookie season. But what the Patriots did do is they gave him 2 offensive coordinators in year 2 that neither one has ever been an offensive coordinator, and they screwed up Mac Jones quite a bit. Now, I do think Bo Nix has more arm talent. He's a better athlete. There's a lot of traits that Bo exceeds Mac in, but I think people are still waiting to see how this thing entirely plays out. But everybody has been very, very impressed with the way Bo Nix has played out of it.
James, we'll have a chance to dive into this more, of course, next Friday, but just a quick preview. If the Broncos beat the Colts, are they going to the playoffs?
I think so. Yeah, I do, because the teams behind them have been kind of – that's where the separation has happened, right? Like everybody who was kind of nipping at their heels, and then Indianapolis was kind of one of them, I think they've started to separate themselves. So if they end up beating Indianapolis, then I think that kind of puts them in a decent spot that, yeah, they're going to be in one of these final playoff spots. Now, their last 4 games, I think they had the 7th toughest strength of schedule. Remaining in the NFL. I mean, they could lose all of these games. I hope they don't, but and they could win almost all of them, honestly. It's really going to be kind of up in the air the way the rest of this plays out, but if they beat Indy, I think they're in a very, very good spot.
You got any leftover Moose? I'm serious.
I wish, man. He took home with them. People are selfish with Moose. We know the way that the operation works here with Moose in Colorado. I mean, you don't get a crack at him very often. Home with them.
Yeah, I've heard that when it comes to getting a moose tag, they give out far fewer moose tags than they do everything else for hunters every year. And Stoke, did you know that once you get 1 moose tag, that's it? You're only allowed 1
done. For the rest of your life.
That's it.
For not your life. I mean, there's no statute of limitation. I mean, it's just forever.
1.
Not 5 years.
No.
Can't reapply.
It's hard to get 1. And if you get 1, it's like the golden ticket. That's it.
Does that last you until you kill one, or does you get it for a year and that's it?
That's it.
So you better get one.
You better get one.
Because you're done for the rest of your life.
Then you're done.
No way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you have to plan. So if I don't hunt. But if I did get a moose tag, my whole year is revolving around trying to get a moose.
Yes.
Because I'm it. That's it. This has got to be the year of my life.
That's it.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Is.
So I would.
Know this
so hey, wait.
The outdoor world with Brandon Stoker.
Yeah.
So I would actually
get Terry Wickstrom on. Yeah.
So if I had a daughter, I would actually have to tell my daughter that I would not be going to a volleyball game because I need to go get a moose.
Wow.
I need to go get a moose.
Michael
so I'm
Malone.
gonna have my family's gonna have to sacrifice.
Michael Malone catching volleyball strays. Stoke just will not let the volleyball thing go. Okay, James.
He won't. Wow.
Thank you.
Thanks, James.
Yep, guys, take it easy.
James.